Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay, warrants and bills? You have a copy of that?
Yep. Let's get that.
Any questions?
No, I'll make a motion that we accept to pay the warrants as presented, totaling $9,893.60.
There a second?
A second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Committee reports. No, website update. Do we have anything on that?
Well, yeah, you should have gotten a mock-up as close as I could make it in Word of what the site might look like. Did everybody have a chance to look at it, or?
Yeah.
I did.
Yep.
Okay. I think if we're agreed that want to go ahead and put up this page, we might see what changes we could make in that, at least provisionally, and at least get something up temporarily while Chuck Wise is still doing things like that, if he is, and before things get lost in the shuffle of the transition to the new town manager.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben?
Carl, the only comment I had, and I apologize for not looking at this in the previous weeks that you sent it out. I like at the bottom of it where you've got all the links to the minutes and the the village documents. I almost would rather see that that sort of table of contents, if you will, with the links as at the top of the site. So as soon as people come in, they see that, and maybe instead of having the verbiage on that landing page, like you've got it, the paragraph,
Mhm.
make that a link as well. Maybe an about section or regular meetings. I think it's logical to see that information the first time you come to the site, but for many people returning to the site, they're going to be looking for specific information like the minutes, and they might not want to have to read down through that information to get to the link that they're looking for. So putting that at the top might be more user friendly.
Okay. So I did the layout sort of following roughly what the town and the village of Bellows Falls had done. I don't have any objection to doing it, but I think that the verbiage or some description should be on that opening page rather than as a link to someplace else. Could be further down at the bottom, but I think that there needs to be something there for people to look at when they first land on the page. And we don't have an awful lot of actual links. Right now we just have the minutes and the agendas for the meetings.
Right. Yeah. So that was my only comment is, maybe bring those links to the top. And then if you want, if you think it's important to have the verbiage on the front, on that landing page, put it underneath.
Where does the, it's hard to tell from what you sent where the page cuts off.
Where the
How much-
page cuts off.
How much is on the first page of what you sent us?
Well, this would be, it would be a web page, so it would be a continuous document. There wouldn't be page breaks in it. So that's why I put it on that very long page,
Oh, it
so
would
that when
open
you
that
looked at
way?
it and you scrolled it, it would look like it would look on the screen.
So
It's
when
kind
I
of
open it-
awkward, but I don't have an HTML editor to actually make a web page to put up to look at.
Mhm.
So Ben, I'm going back and I'm looking at the page, sort of in another screen. What exactly would you like to have put at the top? The things like the policies and the charter, the bylaws and so forth, agreements?
Yeah, I would say everything from where it says village governance down.
Okay.
What about the minutes and the agendas? Are they not,
Well, that's in the as it's written now in the paragraph up above, where it
Oh, I
says
see.
official warnings,
Oh, boy.
meeting agendas and minutes.
okay,
So towards to the bottom of the little box that represents the town's calendar, there's a link there that you would click. And I could make that just in the top of a list.
Yeah, and now that I'm looking at this, when I saw the village annual meeting minutes, I thought that's where the weekly meeting minutes were linked. I would suggest you put all the links in one list. If you want to have them included in the paragraph, that's fine as well. But I completely missed that link to the agendas and minutes, and that was the principal reason for doing this in the first place.
Okay. So you
That's
think
what
that's
people
better
would be
not,
looking
that's better
for.
not buried?
yeah.
Or at least if I mentioned it in the text, it should be separate as a link.
Yeah, I would think you'd want to have the links to everything be very prominent. If you want to include them again in the text, that's okay. But
So it seems to me that we're that we're using the same template that the other that the other boards, the select board and the village trustee board use. Was that your intent, Carl?
Well, I wasn't exactly following a template. I wanted to make it look similar. Those two entities are not identical
Mhm.
in their pages.
maybe it's just a matter, Carl, of making a very prominent section that's titled links, and including all of the links in that one area. So somebody looking to link up with a document would be able to find it that way. And if somebody reads through the text, they might come across it in the text as well.
And you'd have that sort of leading things off right at the top of the document.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you can tell what's a link and what's not on the pages by the colors. Under agreements.
Yeah. Amy,
Or
that's true,
policies.
but you're requiring somebody to read through the entire page in order to find the links by doing that. Whereas they may just want to quickly go to a link section. I don't think you want to have to require somebody to read through the whole thing. If you, I mean, if
So you
can
want
do-
it to really look more like a table of contents than anything descriptive?
yeah, if you can do both, that's better.
Okay. Well, I think the little bit of verbiage about where we meet and when we meet is useful to have there.
Yeah,
Sure.
I
That
agree.
doesn't need to be up at the top.
Sure.
Now I have all of the people broken out in one column.
Yep.
Is that okay?
It's okay with me.
I think that's great.
It seemed
I
to me
think
that
if
that
you-
was the easiest way to
If
present
you take
everything.
that section that starts, village residents form a number of committees, and just take all of that, just just say links and list all these things, whatever you have. No more verbiage than that. You don't have to say in addition to, da, 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 da. Just keep it simple. Just a list. And you start with the minutes and the agendas, because that's what people are going to be looking for.
But they
Okay,
can also go directly to that from the drop-down menu
Right,
on the Rockingham site. I
right.
agree. I think that's.
So that's
that
three
is what
ways
they
they can
want.
get to it. Just keep it as simple, as few words as possible.
you guys don't like my deathless prose, do you? Gee.
What?
I like it, but my intention is always to make things shorter.
Yeah.
I think,
Okay.
I think,
Add the annual report.
Pardon?
Add the annual report as a link.
Okay,
Not on there?
No,
Okay.
annual meeting minutes.
All right.
I wonder how that slipped by me.
Yeah.
It should be there.
Anyway, Carl, I mean, I think it's coming along nicely.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'll work on that. Now I know what the answer to this is going to be from the commentary already. But Peter Bergstrom had a lot of comments and was very much interested in having a lot more verbiage on there, like history of the village. And I didn't think that fit with the purpose of the page, looking at how the town website was set up. And so I
think
just
you could
didn't
accommodate
include-
that though with another link that
Right.
says history of the village.
Yep.
And if somebody wants to go to that, then you could have a nice lengthy commentary on that link.
Mhm.
Okay,
Right, so if he wants to put something together, it would just be a link to go to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's
Yeah.
pretty typical for websites,
Okay.
but
so now a caveat with that is that when they redid the town website, they took a lot of that sort of stuff out. So the
Yeah.
town may not want that to be part of this site. So I think before we go to the bother of making up a page of history, we should touch base with them and just see if they're willing to host it.
sounds reasonable.
Okay. Now, Louise, you had a comment about listing the committees.
Yeah.
Again, I put those committees up because that was suggested by one of the comments that I got back in feedback. Louise made the point that the committee membership is pretty fluid, and that they're not all board-appointed committees, and maybe they don't belong. We don't want to try to put a link up to them. Any thoughts on that?
I'm just looking for comparison. Although the town of Rockingham, I guess I'm on the village. Although the town of Rockingham has boards and committees, I'm not seeing any breakout of committees. I think the legacy site did have some, but I'm not seeing it
It'd
on
be
the.
more of departments, right? I mean, committee is separate from,
Yeah, there's a fire equipment committee. There's some scholarship money there's a committee for the such and such fund.
Yeah, I don't think they're on the town website, however.
Okay, so then they didn't,
It says boards and committees, but they didn't put the committees up. There are a bunch of committees. I mean, there's conservation, there's planning.
yeah, right.
But in the end, for a really streamlined website.
I think that what they have attempted to do is take out everything that's not a committee of the board or officially chaired by the board. I'm not sure, but we can leave a link to them or not. And those links there are in red or in purple rather. I don't actually have anything to put there yet. That's just placeholders, ideas. So we don't have the bylaws, for example, because we're still working on that. I'm thinking that what we might do is, just not include those in the first document that we put up and just add them as we've got something to link to. Because there's nothing more frustrating than a page with a lot of links that don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, one of the things that annoys me, I just did dig up the old Conservation Commission, is when you come to a site and it's out of date, nobody's updated it. So the
Yeah.
Conservation Commission has members that are no longer part of it. So
Yeah.
That's one more reason to keep it simple and not to put up too much.
Yeah.
Because we'll end up having to update it, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
let's keep it to what we can easily handle. I mean, it's a first effort.
Yeah.
I think we're doing well.
Okay. So I'll rework something along the lines of what you suggested, and I'll touch base with Chuck with some questions about whether any of these other things belong. And then I guess I don't think we're far enough along to say we have anything we want to put up as a first effort yet. So I'll just send something around for everybody to look at. And we can talk about it again next time.
Okay.
Anything else that you can think of that we need to put in there that I've forgotten besides the town report, village report, I mean?
No?
Yep.
Thank you for your work.
And I did have one other question. That little blue box that says town websites event calendar here. That's something that just seems to appear every place. It's a monthly calendar that shows all the, you tap on a date and it shows all the events for the month. And so if you tapped on tonight's date, the minutes would pop up. Do we want to include that? There won't be an awful lot on there that's specific to Saxtons River.
I would say no.
Why not?
Because there's nothing to display there.
It would just be our meetings?
Well, it's everything that goes on in the town.
Oh, so it had everybody's meetings?
Yeah, so Amy, do you have the town website up?
Yeah, I did, but then I lost it. Now I'm going back to it.
Okay. If you go to either the select board or the Bellows Falls.
Yep.
So if
Village trustees. Yep. And so the calendar for October has a darker square in my version of it on the 13th, the 19th, and the 20th. And on the 19th, it says Saxtons River Village Trustees. And then if you click that link, it takes you to the agenda. I think that's great.
Oh, yeah.
As you say, it's another way in. It's duplicative, but and it makes us look like a viable part of the town, which of course we are. There aren't a lot of links on it. There are actually this week links on the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st. So the 20th is a joint board special meeting and a Rockingham Select Board regular meeting. And the 21st is the Rockingham Energy Committee.
Yeah, that's something that whoever the webmaster is for the town would just have to put in for us. We would just
Yeah.
put it here.
Well, it's which is great. I was going to guess that they, once you announce that you meet on the first and third Mondays of the month, they plug that in. But if it's linked to the agenda, it may be more detailed than that. I don't know. I kind of like the idea that we put up a basic page, but maybe we're not quite ready for that.
And
So Carl, I just noticed at the top of the page, it's titled Saxtons River Village Trustees. Why did you choose that instead of just Saxtons River Village?
That's the way the other ones on the Rockingham page are. The choices are Town Select Board, Bellows Falls Village Trustees, and it seems to me we would have our own. So the link on the drop down from boards and committees is repeated at the top of the page.
Okay, so that's why it's like that.
That's why it's like that.
could be
And,
bigger though, right?
That actually is something that Chuck sent to me.
What?
That title and that illustration.
Can you make it bigger?
Can I make it bigger?
Yeah.
Can I make what bigger?
The Saxons River Village Trustees, the words.
Sure.
It should be in the same font that is on the Town of Rockingham page. The overall look of the website is probably set up by those style sheets that
Yeah.
websites use, and we would just use the same fonts and the same colors.
But it could be bigger. It's pretty small.
I think it would be larger. It does not show up does not show up to scale here.
Okay.
Yeah,
But-
I think
Right.
I like the way the Town of Rockingham one looks. I mean, it seems adequate to me. Saxons River Village Trustees is plenty big enough to read. Boy, I hadn't even taken this in. If you go to the Town of Rockingham, the Zoom link is there. That's great.
Okay, we need to move on.
Okay.
Um,
One last question. The intent is to give everybody on the trustees access to go in and update our page. Does anybody have any feelings about that?
okay.
It sounds like a nice, but not a required.
Well, I said we would want at least 2 people,
Yeah, I'm fine
He said-
being one.
and well, I know it's easier for me to put up the agendas, and you wanted to get in there and do some other stuff, but he said, I was just gonna give you all access.
Wow.
Okay, that's it. I can move on, Louise.
Thank you. All right, committee reports, wastewater treatment plant upgrade.
The
Um,
only thing I had was the procurement procedure that we had discussed, I think 2 weeks ago, and provisionally adopted pending comments from our treasurer, Alex Barrett, and the auditor, Josh Quinn. And I did get comments from both of those. I incorporated those comments into the document. There wasn't anything of substance. It was more, editorial comments. But I think they were good. They were good comments. So I recirculated that. I don't know if anybody had any input, but I thought it might make sense to just formally adopt that procedure tonight.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion
Yeah.
to do so.
I move we adopt the procurement procedure as circulated.
there a second?
I'll second the
Second.
motion.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, great. So now you can put that up on the website, Carl.
Let me take the draft word out of there, and I'll
Take
send you
draft
an updated copy of that, Carl.
Okay,
I tried making it smaller so it would fit in fewer pages, but it didn't work.
Right.
All right, so we're talking about the proposal to build a storage building at the wastewater plant. And there's some feeling by somebody we should go into executive session.
Yes.
And what is the rationale for that?
What is the wording that Celia used? It's unfair advantage for others if this information was to get out.
And why do you say that?
Why do I say that?
Yeah,
Is it going to go out for bid? I mean, you're sharing numbers on
Okay.
something that could possibly go out to bid. So,
okay, so that's,
all
all right.
if we're not going to go into executive session, then I would ask you to tear up that information that I sent to you.
So this is not a bid from Brennan Construction. This is just information.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss.
Okay.
The wording that Celia so kindly provided to us, I know the word premature is in there.
Okay, would somebody like to make the first motion? Just, do you have the paper or you would like me to read it?
I have the paper. Okay, so I move that we find that premature general public knowledge of the information regarding a building at the wastewater treatment plant would clearly place the municipality at a disadvantage. So at a substantial disadvantage by reason of releasing cost that might affect the bid.
Perfect.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Okay, now we need a second motion.
Sorry, who seconded that?
I did.
Okay.
You want to read the second motion, Carl?
Okay. Okay. I move that the board enter executive session to discuss the specifications and costs for the proposed building at the wastewater treatment center under provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of the Vermont statutes.
There's a second.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Act TV is back in. All right. What's your pleasure with this?
So Matt, one question I've got on the sort of specifications, is the roof pitch spec'd out?
No, it is not.
What is the roof pitch?
That's I didn't check the. I did not check the one on the building, the existing building. was down at 812.
Okay. And I'm not sure it matters, but the location of the entrance door.
Right hand side wall. Well, that really doesn't matter, but where I thought it would be was the right hand wall as you're facing the
So sort of
the
facing
garage.
the entrance to the property.
That's correct. Just so that it's more accessible, so that you can see it as far as possible break-ins. And there wasn't glass in anything. I
Right.
don't know if it may or may not be required.
Okay. So as we came out of executive session, I think the question was sort of what the next step is. It would be great if somebody could take the specifications that have been drafted up for this storage building structure at the wastewater facility, and send it out to, I guess. Well, I'm not sure if we can selectively send it out for bid or if we have to do a public bid.
If we have to put it in the paper.
It's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, and given this, there's some details that aren't fully, spec'd out here, which I'm not sure they need to be for, a structure of this size. But we would want to get the details from anyone bidding about exactly what they're quoting, when it comes to door. Is it an insulated door? Is it a non-insulated door? Those types of details.
I would think we might need to have someone available to show them the site as well.
Yeah, agreed.
We can put them in touch with Rob. Is there sometimes you have a visit or something, don't you, when everybody's prospective people visit?
Right. Yeah. So, and we are going to be expending federal grant funds for this. So the procurement procedure that we just adopted, we'll need to follow those federal procurement requirements. I think the big question is probably the method of procurement, whether we need to do an open bid or if it falls within the level that we could just send out for select number of bids. Because I think a full open bid would require advertising in a paper.
I think we have to do that anyway, don't we? According to our procurement. Do we
Not
have to?
necessarily.
Oh. What's our procurement procedure say about that?
Well, if it wasn't federal funds, it would be up to the trustees to decide what was the most appropriate. But given that it is going to be federal grant funds, we'll need to follow the requirements. But there's some calculation to be done as far as the value of the expenditure.
What do you mean?
What I mean is that's what the federal regulations state, that there's a calculated dollar figure that determines whether you have to do an open bid.
Yeah. You reference that in your procurement
Yeah, I do. I don't have it in front of me though.
So if we look that up, we can find out what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if it's not clear, then we probably just should go that route and advertise it for bid.
Mhm. Do we have to say in the ad that it's federal funds?
Not sure.
Hmm.
I don't remember seeing that as a requirement.
I can look back at our old, the ones we used for the original bids for the sewer plant. That would be the same idea, right? Those are federal funds. What the wording was and what.
Right.
Right, okay. All right. Shall I take that on, or does anybody else want to? I'll start. Let's say that I'll start and pass it around. Put the wording together and find out what the requirements are.
Right.
Okay. Anything else on that?
That's the big one.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Okay.
Well, another big thing is this audit requirement. He wants all those figures. Did anyone see that? Get excited about that?
I'm sorry, is this a reference to the agenda?
This is part of the wastewater treatment upgrade. The audit that we're required, we had the audit, and then he sent, he asked for more the figures about what the costs were.
Yeah, a breakdown of the costs.
Yeah.
This is for VLCT, right?
No,
That's what this was for?
isn't this for the audit? Isn't it for from the man, what's his name?
Josh Quinn?
No, I don't think so.
What is that then? What is it?
Yeah.
ELCT, wasn't it?
Oh, it's
I
a
think it was, I thought it was
insurance.
from VLCT, yeah.
Is it insurance?
Yeah,
Yeah,
regarding the
Oh.
value of the plant.
Oh,
wasn't it?
okay. Okay, the guy who did the appraisal, the insurance guy. Okay. Okay. All right.
I looked at it and didn't get real excited about it, but
I don't know where you find all that stuff. And the whole breakdown of the second page? Well, maybe I'll start. See,
Well, if you want, I will make a start at it.
okay. And maybe Alex has the figures. I don't know. Maybe he
Yeah.
could just.
Well, I'll take another look at what he's looking for and touch base with Alex and see what we can do. I'm going to be laid up for a couple days anyway, so this will give me something to keep me busy.
Well, we don't have to go into too much detail. I wouldn't think. I don't know. All right. Anything on the fire station?
Yeah, I guess I've got a question of where to go with that now. We've been kicking around this Morton building thing, and I think at one of the, I've talked to them multiple times, not recently. We've made the fire station into a box with an office and a bathroom and a tower. So what, without hiring an architect, do you think should be done with that? If you go through Morton Buildings, they are only going to go so far until you commit to them. Talking with them, they have two versions of what they do. The version they seem to like the best is they design a building and they'll take care of excavation, concrete, and put the building up, and someone else finishes it. Their prints that they supply to that point aren't prints that have the details for all the other aspects that are needed: the electrical, the plumbing, the heating. And I think their number for that, providing all of that, being the general contractors, I think was at 18%, if I'm remembering that correctly. So Morton Buildings, you're only going to go so far, or you're hiring them. So what avenue are we going here?
See, I'm not.
Is it best
Matt,
just to put it out? Is it best just to put it out to a design build and see what comes in? You can reject them all and have cost estimates for a finished building. So what would you like to do?
Can I back up a second, Matt?
Yep.
Did I understand you right to say that Morton has two ways to approach it? And I'm not sure I caught what the second way was.
Well, yeah, it seems as though they're not being the general contractor seemed to be their way of, I'm not saying it is their way, it's just when talking with them, it seems though, yep, we'll come in and put this up for you and there you go. And he was saying that as dealing with towns, what happens and what has happened in our case is the towns go out, they hire an architect, they design a building, and lo and behold, by golly, that building is too expensive. So they work with the towns and they provide the building with the concrete already in place. They finish the outside, windows and doors, the metal siding on it, the metal roofing on it, and the village or town is responsible for the rest of it, which is getting bids. Someone working with subcontractors to put together what needs to be in there, and then getting that presented to the state for approval, and then finishing the rest of it. They've found that is the least expensive way of doing it. It's with the village or a town committee or trustees, select persons doing a lot of the legwork. Or you hire them to do it all and you pay that premium. I'm saying 18%, it could be 20%. But,
Okay.
So can only go so far with Morton unless you commit to them. If it's going to have to go out to bid, then that doesn't seem to be the avenue. So I'm looking for direction here, and if it may be that it just is advertised design build, and with the supply them with some specifications and see what happens. As we know, we can accept or reject all of them, but at least I have a better understanding of what this building, now that it's been revised multiple times, is going to cost.
Any thoughts? So how much would the Morton, without the 18%, about how much would that be? Your basic box.
I don't know if I have that or not. I can find that out. It's just going to be, it's not the concrete. It would be just the basic box. Where
That doesn't include the concrete? The foundation?
I don't think so, but I can find that out. All this stuff has to be spec'd. It's not a residential building, so commercial building like this, especially for a municipality, you have to have concrete specifications and that need to be followed. So
So where do those specs come from? I mean,
Somebody, an architect or an engineer has to put it together.
so that's what I thought. So if we need all these specifications to go out and get a bid, right?
Well, yes and no. I think you're going to need them before it's constructed to get a bid for concrete. We've already gotten prices on concrete just by giving the size of the walls, the size of the slab, the building, and having them use their best practice as far as what is typical in that type of construction. The prints we had from Cotton and Pulaski had everything spec'd out. All the rebar and whatnot for that, and for the electrical. So it's easier for somebody to price out when all that information is there. Simplifying the building obviously simplifies cost estimates on it too.
I'm just puzzled how we go about getting a bid that's close enough to be worth anything without having those specs.
Well, right. If it goes out to bid as a design build and it's a commercial building, then whoever's bidding on it in that capacity is going to have to cover all of that. If they don't have somebody on staff, as bigger companies do, that can spec out any of the structural engineering, which there isn't a whole heck of a lot with this building, because it's most of the structural part of it is going to be the roof trusses, which will be done by the manufacturer of the trusses, and they get stamped by the state of Vermont. So they send their specifications to someone in Vermont. They get stamped. But it's just the other things, the electrical, where are the outlets, how many outlets, what's needed, what size service is going in there. I think they were talking about 3-phase. So the plumbing is pretty minimal. The heating, I think, was going to be radiant. So that's the whole thing. Morton, again, they can do that part of it, and the trustees or one of the trustees can take the rest of it and go around to all these other entities and have them spec it the way it should be done. Work with the chief as far as where outlets and switches and lighting need to go.
So Matt, are you thinking that based on the previous design and then the modifications to that design that the committee's worked up, that you feel like you could go to some design build entities and have them prepare a bid to complete the design work and then do the construction? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I don't know if I got to that part of my way of thinking. I'm just a little frustrated at this process and want to simplify it and make it quicker. So I don't have any prints. I've got a rough sketch of the last time we spoke about, the fire station with 3 doors and an office, and minimized. Right. And I'll have to look. I think I received a price from them on the basic part of it, outside finished, inside not. So It's just a little frustrating. So is there enough information there to go? I mean, it's basically just a floor plan. So it's again, if we're going to advertise it for design build, then we just need to come up with the size and shape and what's included, and it goes out like that. It's not up to us to figure out where the outlets go or how the heating is done, other than to say this is what we'd like included. And
So do you feel like you're at that point where you could do that?
I think I need to be at that point. I don't want to chase this around anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be, if you're at that point, that would be great information for the village to have, to see what those design build firms come back with.
Right.
I mean, they may have some questions, and then we'd have to address those.
Yep.
But it would provide some thing for us to go with. Or we'd at least learn something if if they all claim that there's not enough information, then we learn that.
Right. Oh yeah. No, and more, just giving them, taking their questions and answering them. At least it have an actual cost for something.
Right. And as far as the discussions with Morton, my understanding is that they're not really able to quote the full design build. They do it in stages, so they could engage in the design portion, but then the build would be to be determined after they do the design portion. Is that your understanding?
It seemed like that's what they said when they came in several months and months.
Yeah.
You had to kind of it seemed like they didn't actually want to. I don't want to say they didn't want to bid on it, but it almost felt that way.
Yeah.
Like they weren't going to jump in and throw their number in with 8 others.
Yeah. So, so I think it would be worth, including them when you solicit the design build quotes, to have them given the opportunity to do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Does seem like that's a viable option.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean that going out with the information that you've got now to solicit design build quotes sounds good. And at this point, we're not using, we don't have federal funds that we're using for, or no grant funds that we're using for the project yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we're under any obligations as far as the process goes. So sending that out to, a handful of firms, I don't think it needs to be publicly advertised at this point.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Downside to advertising it?
Excuse me?
Is there a downside to advertising for a bid? Remember how new I am.
No, I don't think there is. It might be no, it might be might be a quicker way of doing it. Just advertise it in the paper and wherever else it goes with.
Yeah, if you think we're able to do that, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll just have to get these.
I just think that not having a formal spec written out, there's going to be a fair amount of conversation that has to be made with whoever's bidding, I would think, but maybe not.
Could be. I think with the shell of it, just specifying how many windows and what size, how many overhead doors, how many service doors, just, what they are, whether they're metal doors or with glass, and then the inside is the same, where, we just have to get with the chief and see if he can come up with something as far as need, with the electrical and communication side of it.
Right.
You need,
I have a naive question. Where do you advertise for bids on something like this?
Let's put it in the paper.
Just newspaper?
reformer or
Yeah,
the shopper?
the shopper, right? The two of those, the message, shopper, I guess they're the same, and Brattleboro Reformer.
There's no more message.
Oh,
But I think our official paper of note is the reformer. Because you have to pay, so.
yeah. So,
And I think this is a stupid question, but Matt, you use the term design build. That's
Mhm.
something that people understand. Oh yeah, that means I've got to
Right.
put the whole thing together. Okay.
that's correct.
I
Right.
figured, I mean, it sounds self-explanatory, but
No.
this is new terrain
it's a
for
good-
me.
Right. No, it's a good question. Yeah, I think it's worth going this route, or we're just into hiring an architect again to get all that information done. And whether we will get a good response given the size of the project, I don't know.
And do we have someone to show up and, gesture at the property and say, here's where we envision it? And
Well, I think the way, I think the first approach should be this aspect of it, because there's another aspect, which is the demolition of the building. So I would say just to get a better sense of what this building is going to cost with someone design building it, it would be from concrete to finish at this point. Obviously, we can hire the building demolished as a village. So they would have an empty site. But what we're trying to find out now is what the finished cost of this building will be. That's my way of looking at it, instead of getting into all the other stuff along with it.
So I don't know if this is in line with what Amy was getting at or not, but
Mhm.
who would be talking to these people when they come to look at the site, or talking with them about the specs, about what we want for the building?
Well, I think that they
Would
would
that
have
be
to. They
You
would.
or Art, for example, or?
Right. I mean, yeah, they can contact, the trustees or myself, if you give them, initially.
that's with the way
I just think it would be good to sort of have the lines of communications in mind before we start talking to people. Having sat in on a couple of the committee meetings and seeing how things can get confused, I think it would be nice to have just a couple of conduits and well-defined ones, so that we don't end up being drawn astray again.
Yeah, that happens so easily.
It does. I mean, and that's part of the nature of a project like this. But I
Right.
just, I guess so. And I'm not volunteering to do it, by the way.
I've already written your name down.
Oh, gee. Well-
No, I guess the best thing to do is to come up with an overview of what the building needs to be included in the building. I'll need to get with Art as far as some of the aspects of it, but just review it with him. Put that list together, and then distribute it to all of you to look at, to see if you have questions or things that were missed, and try and get everything in there so that maybe the list of questions is small.
Okay.
I mean, it's basically a box that's going to be insulated, and it's going to have 5/8 sheetrock or something on the inside, and it's.
Amy, did you have a question?
Yeah, so I'm gathering that this is complicated by a number of factors, only one of which is that it's just been a complicated project from the start. But I was picturing something like what we envision happening for the bid process we just discussed, where there is a site and there is a time when people who might have questions would come and walk the site. It hadn't even crossed my mind that, of course, what's there would have to be demolished, and then you'd have to start from that. So maybe what I envision is not sensible, given all the moving pieces.
I'm sure they would want to visit if they didn't know the site already.
Well,
And
I
they-
like that idea of, with the other building, Rob Wheeler saying, on Wednesday morning and Friday morning between 9 and 10:30, I
Mhm,
will be available to show the site and answer any questions. I
right.
mean, I think a process like, I know you never know when you put it out. As somebody already pointed, it's an interesting time for that sort of thing.
Okay, yes.
Do you
All
want a
right.
motion, Matt? Is that what we would do at this point?
For what? Motion to do what?
To put this list of specification, I guess we don't have a list at this point, do we?
He's gonna
Right.
make up a
No,
list.
no, I'm just talking about it because we need to wrap this up, and I just, so what needs to happen is, no, you don't need a motion on this, because I'm going to come up with a list of what's included and get with Art, and then get that information to all of you to review, and then go from there. The site visit, I don't
That's
know.
later on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm
We don't
jumping the
need
gun.
that now, because
Yeah.
we're trying to find out what the building is, but
Right.
But it
Well,
seems
do-
like
do you want
everybody's
a-
with, go ahead.
Do you want a motion just to say that we've decided to follow the site build approach?
I don't
And
think
then-
we have to have a motion as long as the minutes reflect that approach.
Why you keep moving around, Amy?
I'm sorry, I have to go and get my charger. My phone is running down.
well, I don't know. You can do what you want as far as a motion, but I don't think you
No.
really need one.
If you don't feel you need one, then that's fine.
I don't.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not hiring anyone, or
Well, we're taking a step forward.
All
hope
right.
so.
Speaking of what, a step backward is that there's a leak in the building. And who we had work on that before?
Where, the fire station?
Yeah.
Huh.
There's a leak in the far corner, southwest corner. Which I guess you noticed when there was a big rainstorm the other day. So who do we use? Stetson, Jones? Who do we
You
call?
could call Jones and see if they'd go patch it.
Okay. I don't remember who worked on the other one, the other corner that leaked all over our records. let's see. Also, the fire, I sent you the list of grant items that could be purchased with grants that he sent. Can I send that to you?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's some interest. I don't know exactly. I have to talk to Art to see who funds these kinds of things, where they can be funded. But he's given us a list, so we have our assignment.
Can we add that to discussion for maybe the next meeting?
Okay. Let's see what else. Is there?
I think it would be nice to know what the town was going to be putting together some grant applications for multiple departments. Am I right on that?
Yes, I contacted Sean McGinnis and he said they didn't get any of them. They didn't,
Okay.
get,
They
they didn't
didn't
get
get
any
any.
grants.
Oh, that's too
Okay.
bad.
So there's nothing out there pending that we would be.
No.
Okay.
And there was something about our not being signed up for FEMA. I don't know what that was, but I asked Art about it, whether somehow we don't have a FEMA account or something.
Huh.
So we'll have to check that out because some of this can be funded with FEMA, I would think. But that's, I don't know. He's still looking for more hose too. And I guess the forestry truck is a bit of a stretch, but he's got it on the list. It's his
What is?
forestry truck, 150,000. Because somebody brought up the point that we have a lot of land around here that could go up, especially with this drought. So, okay, is there anything else anybody wants to bring up? Well,
Motion to adjourn?
okay, sounds good. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you very much for all your hard work.